Hello. Okay, this is a little different because I'm doing hands-free. I'm not holding the camera, so I have more freedom of motion. Yes, we're back in the bird room today because I thought it would be a good idea to have a second lesson as far as how to combat those pesky, persistent atheists. The ones that have, especially the ones with the soft English voices. I can't think of his name, but he's like the Antichrist, and he's always debating the really smart Christians, you know, like Craig. Anyway, so watch out for the guy with the soft, silky English accent, because he's very dangerous. In fact, I would leave him alone if at all possible, and just save him for somebody who really is experienced at dealing with the higher level atheists. You know, they're kind of like higher level demons on Earth. Okay. Anyway, this is a little more advanced, and it's a less argued thing that you might encounter. So my thought is, unless you're dealing with a really intelligent, biblically aware atheist, you probably won't run into this argument. You can just shut this one right off. You don't need to listen. Okay, if you're still with me, that means you're ready for a higher level of understanding. Okay, now we've already established that God is perfect and He's good, and there's just, it's beyond words how perfect and good and all powerful He is. So the fact that there's like a whole bunch of different chapters in the Bible that have been taken out, okay, well, we understand that the original Bible, which was written, 4,000 to 2,000 years ago, that was inspired by God. Okay, we understand that. But through the course of time, it's had many different interpretations, and they've rewritten it, and they've gone through and picked things out that they don't think really goes along with what they want. And so, but those people that did that were also inspired. So I don't know how many hundreds of translations or revisions there have been for the Bible, but we just have to assume, because it's perfect still after all that each time it was revised. King James, for example, he was inspired by God. Okay, and the guys who took the Gospel of Peter out, because it had a hopping wooden cross, that was also inspired. God told them that book wasn't exactly perfect. I know it's hard to believe that something in the Bible isn't, but it happens, and God tells people, and then they take those parts out. Now, unfortunately, there's little exceptions to that. The whole thing about not suffering a witch to live, that's still in there, and what else is in there that's kind of embarrassing? This is little. If your daughter's not a virgin on her wedding night, it's okay for the dad to take her out and stone her to death. That kind of stuff. Oh, and there's also full instructions on how to keep a slave and how slaves should treat their masters. Personally, I think that that's questionable, but nobody's been inspired to take it out, so I have to assume that that's all still valid. Okay, we just try not to, because it would be very hard to cope with the laws of society today if we were to follow God's word to the letter. So we kind of, we balance a delicate balance to make it all work out. So, okay, one of the things that have been taken out, but people who are really, really clever and research and Google, they come across the story of Lilith. Okay, now who is Lilith? I've mentioned this before in a previous video. In Genesis 1, God makes woman and man from the dirt at the same time, and they are made equal. They are both made in God's image. Okay? And just for visual, we're going to say, I know it's a stupid little canary. It's Woodstock, actually. We're going to say that this guy here is Adam. Okay? I'm in a bird room. What do you expect? You know, it's a bird room. Okay, so this is Adam. I'm Adam. I'm so lonely. Actually, no, that's the second chapter. So they both come together. They both appear at the same time, made out of the ground. Okay. This is a dog toy. I know, but I don't have any dolls. Okay, well, I don't have enough dolls. I don't play with dolls. Okay, so it's actually appropriate. You'll understand why soon. This is the first woman that God creates, and he creates them at the same time. So they're equal. Yes. So neither one of them is stronger. No one's in charge. Okay. Now the problem here is the man is not happy. He's really not happy because she's in his face. And when they want to get, you know, together and be one, she wants to do this. See? She wants to do this. And he wants to be this way. But she wants to be, okay? This pisses him off. And so he's walking around and he's really sulking in the garden. And God's like, what's the problem? Now, this is hard to understand again because, you know, God sees the future. So he obviously made this mistake on purpose. For some mysterious reason, maybe he wanted to show man that women needed to be, well, anyway, I'm jumping ahead again. So God is, you know, he sees Adam, he's asking him what the problem is, and which is silly, I think, a little bit, because God knows everything, but maybe he does this so Adam feels like he has some kind of, you know, okay. And so Adam's like, she doesn't listen to me. I want to be in charge. So God's like, okay. Actually, it's a little bit more complicated. She says the forbidden word, Yahweh! And then it's, okay, so she's gone. Actually, what happens is she becomes a demon. And you know the song, Rockabye Bay? No, is it that one? I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's a song. Lilith is actually the inspiration to a legend of, you know, sudden infant death syndrome. Well, in the olden days, they blamed Lilith. Because Lilith, she was a demon that came and killed little babies. And so sudden infant death syndrome, you wanted to protect your child from Lilith. Okay? So that's what happened to her when she's out of there. So then Adam's all alone. He's so sad, you know. Okay, she was kind of nasty to me, but she was good in bed, and someone to talk to is better than nothing. So then God puts him to sleep. This is second Genesis now. He's sleeping. And God's like, okay, taking a rib out. Bing! There's Eve. Okay, now I know she's not naked. You have to pretend. Okay, so this is Eve, and she is very domestic. Yes. Oh, yes. Kissy the feet. Ooh. Okay. And Adam can do this as much as he wants to because she's just okay. She's fine, meat on the bottom. She's inferior. She's the subordinate one. Adam feels good. Boom, boom. Oops, we can't do it that way. We have to do it this way. Boom, boom, ha. Okay, so that's it. Now, what's interesting about the whole scene? Okay, so she's the evil one. She's the second woman that God makes, and this is, you'll read about it in 2nd Genesis. She's the one that listens to the serpent, and and then and then he eats the apple, and she eats the apple, and they're out of there. Okay, so we got the story down. Okay, now for some bizarre reason, originally the story of Lilith was completely painted out. It was completely in graphic detail discussed in the first Genesis of the Bible. That's been completely removed. And the only remnant of this story about Lilith is the fact that if you read the first Genesis or Genesis 1, whatever it's called, you know, I'm a Christian. It's not like I read my Bible. Anyway, if you read the first one, he makes man and woman at the same time out of dirt. That is the only remnant that's left of the Lilith story. And then if you read the second Genesis, they have God putting Adam to sleep and taking his rib and making Eve, and she's, you know, she's a better one. Man can't take Lilith. Adam can't take her. She's too much of a woman. She's too, she's too dominating, whatever that word is. So that's it. And it's interesting because that whole story's been taken out of the Bible, and that might be something that an atheist, a savvy atheist, might point out. Well, if God is perfect, why would he make a mistake like making Lilith? Because technically his first woman didn't work out. It's like, oops, gotta check that idea and start again, do something else. If God is all-knowing and knows the future, then he knew from the beginning that Lilith would be a failure and Adam would be unhappy with her and she would get to be a demon and go around killing little babies. But he made her anyway. So, either he makes mistakes on purpose, it's part of his plan, it's all part of his plan, or man had the stuff to tell God what he wanted. Okay, God, I'm sorry, but your first woman is not acceptable. I know you're perfect, and I know your plan is perfect, and I know everything you make is perfect, but your first woman that you made is just not acceptable. She's not enough. Okay, so can you do it? Can you give me another one? Can you do it over and make me one that I can boss around? And God's like, oh, dude, my bad. Okay, fine. We'll make one. Instead of making a woman in my image like I made man in my image, I'll make a woman from man, and that way she'll be your little whatever, your little, helper. Yeah. So that's the story of Lilith, and you can see why that could be a difficulty if an atheist is aware of that story, because it illustrates that God who's supposed to be all-knowing, can make things that appear to the little puny human mind to be a mistake, but we understand that he is very mysterious and that it's all part of a bigger picture that we don't get to know. Okay, and I think the reason that the whole story was taken out of the Bible is, I think, that the church, which of course was inspired by God, didn't want women to read about Lilith and read that the original woman that God made was intended to be the equal to man, not his subordinate, not his partner, but a teammate, an equal. And you can't have women walking around thinking that they're as good as men. We can't have women thinking that they're equal. Think of the catastrophe that would make on society if women thought that they were full human beings like men. So anyway, you understand the danger, and I think that that's why the Lilith story was taken out. But unfortunately, it might come back and bite you if any atheist you deal with is familiar with this story. So just be on your guard, and again, remember the big fallback. I'm trying to think of the word. Tool that you can use if you're stumped. We can't understand because we are just little people. We're just mortals, and God is mysterious, and he works in mysterious ways. And all this about Lilith, that's all part of his divine plan. And one day, when we're all gathered around his feet, he will explain everything to us. But in the meantime, we just need to have faith and believe. Okay, so this is the end of my second little lesson about how to field those difficult questions that atheists might throw at you. And I hope that you are blessed today with increased awareness of the way God works and how the Bible fits into everything and how God uses people to check out the parts of the Bible that aren't exactly right. So only the perfect stuff remains, like the killing gays. Yeah. Anyway, thank you again, and have a nice day.